going to kick things off tonight looking at Moonstone. So the crystal that is pictured here is not a moonstone, and in fact, it's not a crystal at all. It is opalite. You probably know this, but a lot of people don't. I see it online all the time. I see it in shops that I've visited listed as moonstone, or also I've seen it listed as opal. It has the word opal in it because it has this sort of opalescent quality to it, this iridescent quality, but it is not opal. It is not moonstone. It is glass, so it's man-made. So moonstone itself comes in tons of different varieties and colors, but it's typically pretty easy to recognize even with all of its color variation. Now, sometimes if it's missing some of its defining characteristics, like little parallel sort of fissures in the stone, that nice sheen that it has on the surface, the adularescence, then it may be a little bit harder to identify, but you can almost always differentiate moonstone or any other type of stone from opalite. Although there is some that's super transparent with that great blue adularescence, they should not be easily mixed up because even a near flawless, genuine moonstone is typically still just near flawless. You can usually find something internally that helps you differentiate those apart from one another, and we'll take a closer look at that in a moment. So some of the opalite out on the market looks like this. It's very, very transparent. It has deeper kind of blue colors to it, but some of the opalite on the market looks more like this. It's a bit more kind of cloudy and hazy. These are both opalite. They're both man-made glass. A lot of times what you'll see is this more milky stuff, but you can often find this stuff. So let's look at some side-by-sides. Here we have some fairly high quality rainbow moonstone on the left, and you can see some are a little bit more milky, some are really transparent. They have a nice sheen. Here's a super clear sort of flat piece of opalite, and it looks a little bit different than these. It looks a little bit different than this one, but you can see how they all have that sort of foggy, milky translucence to them, right? And they're, for the most part, pretty flawless inside, whereas our natural moonstone, or rainbow moonstone in this case, has a lot of these little fractures and fissures. Also, the adularescence or sheen in the moonstone, we typically see on the surface of the stone, whereas with the opalite, that kind of milky rainbowish quality comes from inside of the stone, and it really comes especially from like the depth of the stone. So where we have this thinner piece, we don't have as much play of color. Where we have a lot of this milkiness, we have a little bit less color. You can see there's some gold, there's some pink, but when we have like a thicker chunky piece and we let the light really go through it, then we see a bit more of that blue color come through, but it's throughout the entire stone. It's on the surface, it's inside the stone, it's like equally distributed through the whole thing. With the natural moonstone, that adularescence is in little areas of the surface of the stone, right? So where we see that color change and that color play is a bit different between these two. So here's another piece of opalite, and it's somewhat convincing, right? Except again, that sort of luminous quality is coming from inside the entire stone. It's not relegated to the surface like it is here. So to spot the difference between moonstone and opalite, look at the inside of the stone. Is it completely flawless and transparent like this? No fissures, no veils, no fractures, nothing going on inside? If so, it's likely opalite and not moonstone. You also want to check for any bubbles. Bubbles indicate glass. And if the stone is really uniformly milky or foggy in appearance, it's likely opalite rather than moonstone. And you want to consider the price. Typically, opalite is going to be just a couple bucks. Moonstone can be just a couple bucks, but for the really high quality stuff that would have this much kind of color play, it would be significantly more expensive. Okay, so sometimes rainbow moonstone is enhanced or faked in another way to make it appear really vibrant pink or really vibrant blue. If it's set in jewelry, they can put a paper backing or a film backing on the cabochon to put that really intense color behind the stone so that when you look through the stone, it looks like the whole stone is a really vibrant color. Or in other jewelry, the stones are sometimes dyed even. So it could be completely natural moonstone, but maybe it was kind of low quality. So they dye it and sometimes even aura treat it. These are sometimes sold specifically as pink moonstone or blue moonstone. So let's continue our talk about moonstone just a little bit here. So occasionally, blue chalcedony is sold as blue moonstone, and it does resemble a natural moonstone, especially due to that sort of milky or foggy appearance that we see in a lot of natural moonstone. And this can be a little bit more challenging to spot because some natural blue chalcedony can have this sort of like luminous quality to it. It just has a presence that is a little bit foggy and almost opalescent in the way that it kind of looks like it's lighted from the inside out. It looks a little bit like it glows. So here's an example of the blue chalcedony that is trying to approximate genuine moonstone. So this isn't even like a high grade piece of moonstone. It's just like a semi-translucent natural moonstone that, because of that translucence, takes on this weird slightly blue glow or hue from inside, and it looks like the light of the moon, right? This is like the OG moonstone. So this is like what most people were referring to historically when they were talking about moonstone. And then we have the blue chalcedony, which you can see the similarities, right? And yes, you can totally have opaque white moonstone. That's a very common type of moonstone, but not every piece will have that. So as always, there are resources here for you in the slideshow where you can learn more. I definitely recommend, reading through these articles if there's a stone that you're really interested in learning more about the fakes. But if you want the in-depth explanation of some of these things about the fakes, go and read through the forums, read the articles, watch the videos. They're really, really helpful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate you. And until next time, crystal blessings.